Hello everyone and welcome to another casual review. Today I'm talking about Cocoon. Cocoon is one of those indie, artsy puzzle games. I have to be upfront when I say that I really actually do enjoy these games. My wife was asking me if I enjoy puzzle games, and I said yes if they have an interesting world, an interesting aesthetic, maybe an interesting story. And a good puzzle game definitely needs an interesting mechanic, and I think that Cocoon delivers on the interesting mechanic aspect and the interesting aesthetic mechanic. How the game starts is you're basically like this mechanical looking bug that basically hatches out of this cocoon, I guess is what it is. It's one of those games that has absolutely no words in it, either written or spoken, and so a lot of the stuff is kind of up to interpretation as you are playing through the game. And in order to learn like the mechanics and the controls, it's just kind of trial by error. That isn't too big of a deal, though, control-wise, because the controls themselves are very, very limited. Basically, your character can move around, can pick up orbs, or interact with buttons. And so on its surface, this sounds like it's a very simple concept until I go into detail about the orbs. Through your journey, you will encounter these colorful orbs, and they have different abilities. So you'll first encounter like this red orb, which allows you to reveal pathways. It's at certain locations. Or you'll encounter a green orb that will allow you to like transport up this green mist, or it will allow you to like deconstruct certain objects into the green mist. So it will allow you to go up and down in elevation, which is useful because I forgot to mention, you can't even like jump or go off ledges. So you're also very limited movement wise without these orbs. And so you are going across this journey and you are slowly unlocking these different orbs that have different abilities. And that doesn't sound too complicated until I tell you that each one of these orbs has its own little world inside it that you can jump into. So the red orb that I was explaining that reveals the pathways, when you hop into it, it is like this dry, arid climate type of world. Or like if you hop into this green orb, then it is like this rainy, swampy kind of world. And to add another level of complexity, you can bring these orbs inside other orbs to the point where you get like multiple layers, and you have basically like this inception level of worlds inside worlds inside worlds. And so you're trying to solve all these puzzles and trying to figure out where you want to put the orb inside what other orb in order to interact with which mechanic. And it sounds overwhelming, and I do have to admit, like at some points in the game, it is kind of overwhelming to the point where I'm just like, I have no idea what to do. But it did do a good job of sectioning off areas that aren't relevant to the puzzle. So if you don't need to backtrack in a certain world, they do block that area off. Because I feel like if you could completely navigate to the beginning of each of the orbs' worlds, it would be very easy to get lost and frustrated and not able to progress. But I do feel like they do kind of push you towards the correct solution to the puzzle. Basically, it's like, here are the areas that you have access to. Here are the functions that you can use. Now you solve the puzzle within these parameters in order to advance. And the really interesting thing about these puzzles is I don't think I could explain how to solve these puzzles to somebody else who was navigating through the game. It's just kind of one of those things where like as I'm playing through, a light bulb goes off and I intuitively know where to put what orb inside what and what mechanic to utilize. It's almost like based entirely on intuition. That being said, I do recommend taking as little amount of breaks playing through this game as possible, because it is very easy to lose track of what you were doing and where, especially if you take a extended amount of break. Like if you take a 24 hours in between a play session and then you try to hop back in. It may take a while for you to get kind of like reoriented and try to remember like what color of orb is in what other orb and try to like backtrack and everything like that. It's not too difficult of a game to play in minimal sessions though. I think it took me maybe 4 hours to beat. So, I mean, you could easily beat this in 2 or 3 sessions without having to lose track of what you were doing and where. Aesthetically, visually, like this game is very unique. I like how they take this unique blend of robotic metallic material and they like mix it into this organic-y, slimy, fluid type of material in order to make like this robotic bug kind of world. As far as I can interpret it, you are like purifying these orbs. So whenever you do encounter a new color orb with a new world inside it, you have to like go in and kind of like defeat the boss of that orb that's like corrupting the orb. There's not really like combat in this game, but like you do have like these boss encounters where it's essentially like you have to learn how to dodge the boss's attack, and then at the right time when they're vulnerable, then you kind of strike them with some kind of object. These boss fights aren't very punishing. Basically, like if the boss grabs onto you, then it throws you out of the orb, and then you basically have to restart the encounter again. So it is devastating in that like if it's a super long like boss fight, you do have to restart it if the boss grabs you, but it's not like there's no like lives or game overs or anything like that. But I really do like the design of these different mechanical bug bosses that you have to defeat, and each one has like a unique mechanic. Like one has like a point that's parallel to you but like opposite, and you can like teleport to that point, so you're using this like teleportation switching mechanic in order to like dodge enemy attacks. Another one is like you use this orb to like launch yourself and fly around, and you can at the right opportunity like fly yourself into the enemy boss. And so I do think that it adds a lot of variety in terms of like the different worlds inside all these different orbs and these different boss bugs that you encounter. And I think that the music goes really well with this type of mysterious robotic environment aesthetic, because it's very subtle, and when you do encounter like these key moments or these exciting moments, it's very like synthy, you know, very electronic. And the cool thing about the music design is when you finally do solve that puzzle, before you solve the puzzle, but it's like obvious you know how to solve the puzzle when you're working towards that, it's like the game knows, okay, you clearly know what you're supposed to do to solve this puzzle, and then it starts playing this cool synthetic music, and it's really exciting. It's almost like this reward, like, congratulations, you solved the puzzle, you're gonna do it finally, hooray. But like I said, it is pretty straightforward, you know, there's not a lot of paths that you could explore that don't nudge you in the correct direction. There's no like collectibles or extra side stuff that you can uncover. For the most part, most pathways that aren't relevant to your current objective are blocked off. They frequently do that one kind of puzzle where they have a bunch of these symbols that are set up, and you have to like touch these symbols in the right order, but you don't know what the order is, and so you have to kind of like look into the background to see what the order of the symbols are, or just kind of do like a process of elimination to try and figure out what the order is. Other times they'll give you the obstacle where you can pass through these narrow spots, but if you're carrying an orb, then you can't, and so you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this orb to that location without slipping through these thin areas? I played the Switch version, and I didn't have too many problems. However, there were a couple points at the end of the game when I have like 4 different orbs that are layered inside each other, and then I have like laser beams that are blasting inside the orbs to interact with puzzles. I did notice that my game was getting a little choppy to the point where one time it had to like completely reset. I do notice sometimes when, for other games, if you put your Switch to sleep and then wake it up and then put it to sleep and wake it up, it can slowly start making the game laggier and laggier until you have to reset it. So that might be the case here. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I like these type of small indie artsy type of games. I couldn't even really try to begin to explain the story or the plot. It is just kind of one of those up to your own interpretation type of games, but I guess I could come up with like some kind of educated guess, but I'd probably be way off base, so I don't even want to try it. Also, like, spoilers, come on. Overall, I think I'm going to give this game a 4 out of 5. Just one of those, like, bite-sized, unique puzzle games that you can play through. And so if you can find this game on sale or for cheap, like, I definitely recommend that you pick it up and give it a try. I guess if you are intimidated by the puzzle aspect of these multi-layer worlds, then I guess you could just watch a playthrough of it. But seriously, like, the way that they section most irrelevant things off, I think that the puzzles aren't as intimidating as they sound, and when you do solve these puzzles, you feel super smart. Well, guys, that's it for me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments about Cocoon, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. Otherwise, I'll talk to you later. Bye!